That was it's supposed to be the start of the episode.
Did that start and I just go, God, there's so many fucking movies.
No.
So many dumb movies.
It started on Brian being all
I need a second.
So many dumb
I realized
movies.
that.
That's okay. We'll cover for you. Hey everybody, welcome back to Midnight Masterminds. Woo!
1 year.
Welcome to 2017.
Nope. Add one.
2016.
Okay, yep. So, I just would like to say, Wyatt and Katimae sound really weird.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah.
So, I'm just as disappointed as you are that this show is now me, Brian, and Freddie. But, we'll
That just hurts. That hurts all of us.
That hurts more than most things.
No.
Said Wyatt.
Screenplay Wyatt and Screenplay Katimae left. They're gone.
But we're the next best thing.
No.
Yeah, I mean, next.
The next best thing...
I guess James.
Yeah, and he's in New York right now, so... We're the C team.
The backup.
we're the IT team who's only doing the super spy mission because the angry people, the evil guys, didn't think it would be worthwhile to take out the IT crew.
We pass out all the orange slices at halftime.
Oh man, you know who we are, but just in case, because every episode of something is someone's first episode of that something. So my name's Tyler. Hi Brian.
Hey, what's up, dude?
That's Brian. Say hi, I'm Brian.
My name's Brian. I'm here to talk about some movies.
Yeah. You?
Hi, I'm Freddie.
Uh-huh.
That's about it.
You weren't looking at me. How do you know that I was referring to you?
Because I'm the only other one in the room.
You're damn right.
Remember, we were the last ones picked.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
when I'm used to being the last one picked during gym class, you get used to.
Just to keep the youth sports metaphor going, as Brian brought in the orange slices. Anyway,
I didn't even... I'm not thinking about that.
Okay, well, anyway, this episode, on our first episode of Midnight Masterminds in 2019, and also our first episode of Masterminds in several time, we're going to be covering Aquaman, Bumblebee, Spider-Man Into the Spiderverse, as far as reviews go, and we're also going to do a couple of fun, like a retrospective, kind of like look back on 2018 at the movies and what movies killed it, what movies didn't do so well, what movies we liked, what movies we didn't like, our surprises, that kind of thing. But to start, we're gonna go into it with our reviews. First out, I figured we'd just do Aquaman, start alphabetically. So it was directed by James Wan, starring Jason Momoa, Amber Heard, Nicole Kidman, the guy who played all the clones in Star Wars Attack of the Clones, Patrick Wilson was in it, Willem Dafoe was in it, Graham McTavish was in it. It was really good as far as DC movies go. And it's making a metric butt ton of money.
Yeah.
Seriously? It made the top 10 highest grossing films for 2018, and it was only out for 10 days in 2018.
Black Panther made 2 metric butt tons.
Yeah, we'll get to that later. But yeah, I thought it was an excellent step in the right direction for the DC franchise. I think it was fucking batshit crazy and visually fun to look at and sort of uplifting at parts. It was fun. It wasn't just beating me over the head with how hopeless and grim the world can be at times, like all the previous movies in this goddamn universe. I saw an article where they said that James Wan has successfully brought the DCEU back on track by completely ignoring it.
I would agree with that.
And I think that's the best possible... Yeah, that's the best case scenario they could have hoped for this. Happened.
I think it's the first time I left a DC movie in a long time, and I didn't have a headache.
Yeah, no, I agree. I'd agree with that.
Numbing it was.
No, it was. I thought it was really fun. Jason Momoa is a treat for.
It's a snack.
Yeah, for everyone. Just anybody. If you don't enjoy looking at that man, there's something wrong with you. But yeah, Brian, without spoiling much, what do you think the story was?
Well, Aquaman, dude that lives underwater.
I gotta say, that's not fair. I stole that from the Weekly Planet, but I do just want to hear you give your best plot summary.
Best plot sum?
Yeah.
So...
Don't spoil anything, though.
Okay. Well, you have Jango Fett.
Make sure you don't spoil things.
Okay. Jango Fett lives on the water, and he runs a lighthouse. One night, during a storm, this lady pops up.
That'd be Nicole Kidman.
Nicole Kidman pops up on the shore. She's a pretty little mermaid, and
That's weird.
All right, pause real quick. Don't. You creepy.
This is my weird synopsis.
All right,
of
you know
it.
what? Keep going.
She's a pretty little mermaid, and
Oh no.
Worse the second time.
Basically, they fall in love, and they have a little aqua baby.
Yeah, they do.
And he has to kind of find his way in this world, being what?
Yeah.
Is that a spoiler?
No.
Oh, he has to find his way in this world, but he's been between worlds, and eventually he learns all the Aqua Boy stuff that he needs to learn, and goes down under the ocean.
I feel brain cells like stepping up to bat and having like a heart attack, like in real time in your brain right now, trying to go through this.
More or less, he fights his stepbrother.
Yeah.
Who is brother,
half brother,
who's running, what Atlantis.
I mean, it could be his actual brother.
And then there's conflict
half-brother.
between them for the throne.
I don't think so. He's blonde.
Happens to the worst of us.
So, domestically, Aquaman made. I think that's an interesting note. I will say the battle between this and Black Panther. I mean, it's not even close. Black Panther annihilates this, but domestically, Aquaman made like a kind of modest $238 million up till right now, which is that's pretty modest. It's great. It's still great, but it's like that's not huge.
That's
as far
to
right now,
to the
this
day.
very second. Yeah.
What was the budget on it?
The budget? It doesn't say.
The CGI budget.
Probably kind of high. I think I read somewhere that it was like right around 150.
Okay.
160 million. But internationally, oh boy, right under $700 million right now internationally. And again, keep in mind, these are numbers it's pulling in its like second week. Like, it's nuts. That's stupid.
Oh, especially in the cold months now, people are gonna go see it, so it's gonna make money for a while.
Absolutely, yeah. I think there's a chance this crosses $1 billion. It's kind of a small chance. I think there's a chance
With international,
yeah, depending on how it continues to perform, because like, yeah, I mean, this is one where the like, it had the sins of its fathers on its back with all the rest of the DC franchise, so like people were a little tentative to go out. Like, I know that's why I didn't rush out. I went and saw it. It was a toss up between this and Bumblebee when I was home for the holidays, which we'll get to, but I really liked it, and I think that kind of reaction is going to help it have staying power. It's like people that knew they wanted to go see it right off the bat, like all your diehard DC fans that are DC fans in spite of everybody else for some reason, will have gone out and seen it, and then like there are some people that are like us that are gonna like, all right, I guess we'll go see Aquaman, and then we tell all our friends that didn't go see it that it was actually pretty fun, and then they go out and rinse and repeat.
It's nice. This one has almost no stakes in terms of the like universe building or like it is its own thing. It's not Marvel where you have to know everything going in. It is totally separate, and that's what I think is enticing. But the only thing is you may not know that until you see it.
Yeah. No, and it's like people are wondering what how they were gonna carry on from the fucking CGI hellscape that was Justice League. They just didn't care. They didn't pay attention. They ignored it all. So, and that's pretty great. Besides like a few references to Superman or Steppenwolf or whatever, there's really no connection to the overall DCEU, which I think is the best way they could have done this. But moving on from Aquaman, we have Bumblebee. Now give me just a second to pull up Bumblebee here.
Now, I did not see this one.
Freddie and I saw it just this morning.
Right now, we're watching it. We're in the theater.
Yeah, and
sorry, everyone.
The story for Bumblebee and then Spider-Man 2 is a little sadder than Aquaman, if we're being honest. Because part of why it's cool that we got to do all three of these is they're sort of like a new take on a universe that might have been a little poorly looked at. Like Aquaman is the first new look at the DCEU since Justice League and all the falling out. Bumblebee is apparently the first good Transformers movie, period, on the end of that sentence.
Did they say that, or did they reference it?
That's what a lot
of people in the trailers, there were a couple where like this is the Transformers movie that we've wanted to see.
Yeah, okay.
Which is such a weird marketing strategy. It's like, yeah, we know we fucked up. Here's a good one. But hey, I think they know. It had a budget. Sorry. It was directed by Travis Knight. Starring Haley Steinfeld, John Cena. I don't know anybody else in the cast that is noteworthy, really. The previous to Bumblebee, Mr. Knight directed Kubo and the Two Strings, which I think is fun.
That's a
fave
of mine.
That's a phenomenal movie.
I still need to see that one.
That one's really good.
That's a fantastic movie. But anyway, it had a budget of $135 million. Came out the same day as Aquaman, which probably is why it's not doing so great. Domestically so far, it's made $88 million.
That's kind of crazy, actually.
Yeah.
It's only made that much.
And internationally, it's just over $108 million.
That may be the last Transformers movie for a while.
Yeah, because it's been critically well received, but it's really not doing great. It's going to need to really work hard, because general rule of thumb is the overall cost of a movie is what they list the production budget as, like, times 2, because marketing generally costs just as much as the movie itself. Plus, there are costs that they don't list as part of the production budget that are like kind of lost, and so like you're generally safe to assume the actual cost of a movie is double what the production budget says it is, and the fact that it's barely made $60 million more than its budget, just the production budget, means it is losing money at the moment. So that's sad, because it was really good. I actually really had fun with it.
I do want to talk about when we've reviewed these, just like what this kind of could mean for the film industry in general, because it's super interesting. These as a case study, the 3 movies together, what that means.
Sure. But so basically, Freddie.
Yes.
Do you want to handle the story for this one?
For Bumblebee? Yeah. So you get thrown back a couple decades. What was it? The late 60s? No,
1987.
Late 80s. Okay. So you get thrown back, and just about as soon as they introduce you to the fact that you're back in time, they then move you to Cybertron. Is the name of the planet? I always forget. And you have the illustrious Optimus Prime shooting other
it's just
Transformers in
robot
the street.
Gunkata, like lunatic.
Yeah, just there's just explosions, and you're like, oh, okay, so we're back to the old style. And then they're like, no, things are going bad, and Bumblebee comes in and he like kills 3 of them on his way from the top of a building to the ground.
Yeah.
And then
it's a fucking, like, that cold open was really cool.
It was. And then they go, okay, well, time to leave. And so they...
It's like, shit's not going good for us here.
Yeah, so they leave, and Optimus Prime treats him like a son. Like, I'm going to send you away. You'll set up a base. And, like, he sends him away. He's like, Earth. And, you get the...
Yep.
From there, you meet your main character, who is incredibly likable. On the way back, Tyler and I were talking about how Charlie is her name. She's just
Haley
like...
Steinfeld's character.
She's just like... she's brushing her teeth and like doing air drums, and you're just like sitting there and you're like,
I don't think she's been bad in anything she's ever been in.
No, she hasn't. But like that was it was a perfect sequence. By the end of it, you're like, no, I'm in her corner.
I was worried. I mean, I haven't seen it, but I was worried seeing her in a Transformers movie, and I was like,
yeah.
But
No, she killed it.
She killed it.
Best pro tag of the entire franchise,
easily.
I think.
You didn't like Screaming Shia LaBeouf?
Or
I used to
Texas
unapologetically-
Boston Mark
It's a
Wahlberg.
fucking transformer.
I
It's
used
a
to
Transformer.
unapologetically
I'm from
love
Texas.
the Shia LaBeouf ones. Like, I used to absolutely love the first one. Was an apologist for the second one. I watched the third one. And the fourth one came out, and I'm like, ugh. And then the fifth one, and I'm just like, yeah, I'm going to skip that. And then
There was a fifth one?
Wait, fifth one was Marky Mark, wasn't it?
Fourth one and fifth one were
Which
Mark.
one,
okay.
which one was dinosaurs?
That was fourth?
5 was Knights of the Round Table.
Oh, we didn't see
With
that.
Anthony
No, I
Hopkins.
didn't
We
even
did not
touch
see
that
that
one.
one.
That one came out
Because we saw the fourth
last year.
I remember hearing...
Did that one come out last year?
Look that up.
I'm looking that up. Keep talking.
I skipped something. I skipped ahead to our protagonist and skipped past John Cena using a paintball pistol on his friend while
That
his
was
friend is
so
hanging
bad.
up. He just keeps shooting him with the paintball gun. The guy's
So,
going, ow, ow,
John
ow.
Cena's like special forces guy, and they're running paintball, those like live paintball drills. And his friend, they legitimize him as a soldier in a really fun scene because like they have his friend like it's like super edgy, and they're all like wearing black, and they're walking through with their like M4s, and then the one guy gets caught in a leg trap. And then all of John Cena's guys pop up wearing like ghillie suits and just mow them all down. And then John Cena walks out while his friend's like hanging upside down. He's like, "Congratulations, you just got your whole squad killed." And he's just standing there taunting him, but he keeps pulling the trigger on his handgun
His
and
pistol.
shooting the guy in the stomach. He's like, "Oh, no, this is just a faulty trigger. Someone's really gonna get a talking to," as he just ding, ding.
I can't believe it's still happening. Like as he's shooting.
Isn't this crazy?
Yeah. And then right as that happens, Bumblebee crashes into the earth, and John Cena decides in that moment that he hates him for apparently no reason.
Yeah, that was his character was probably the weakest link, because while he was fun and funny, he had like his motivations were weird.
Yeah, like he
and
had
also
no.
Like
And we realized
he wasn't consistent.
As a tiny spoiler in terms of the context of that scene. We don't see anyone get too hurt. We don't see anyone die.
Yeah, and they all seem like kind of riled, like upset.
Yeah,
but no one dies until the Decepticon shows up.
Yeah, and
like
then
Bumblebee stands up and he has a voice. That's a cool thing. You actually hear Bumblebee's voice for the first like 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And he just stands up when all of John Cena's guys are like, "Kill that fucker!" And he's like, "Look, I'm not here to hurt anybody." And he doesn't have his armor on. He doesn't have his guns out. Nothing. He's just like, "Yo, this is like a major misunderstanding." And then a Decepticon rolls in and murders everybody.
Well, and not only that, they hunt him, like they're literally chasing him through the woods, like shooting at him, and he's just running. It's like they're hunting him down. They get to this cave on the side of a mountain, and in that moment, the Decepticon comes in and just blows up everyone. There's a cat right there.
Oh my god. All right, pausing the podcast. Our cats. You're a lunatic. All right, now you got your wish. You're gonna hang out with us for a little bit.
Oh no, who's gonna stand outside and yell?
He's gonna scream.
We'll cross that bridge when we come to it.
Okay.
1, 2.
All right. Anyway, you were saying?
Where was I? Oh, they literally corner him. They corner Bumblebee by like a cave, and he's about to go in, and they like crash into him, and then the Decepticon shows up and blows up everyone.
Yeah, except for John Cena.
Except for John Cena, rips out Bumblebee's voice box.
So he's all angry about
well, that's the thing is like
his fellow
army so like sure be pissed at the Decepticons.
Yeah,
but all you saw from Bumblebee was he shows up.
Says,
he's like,
I'm not here to hurt anyone.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to hurt anybody. After you riddled him with bullets and harpoons. So he had every reason to defend himself and didn't. And then a Decepticon shows up, kills all of your friends. Bumblebee kills that guy, and you blame him. Like, that's why, like, the motivation there, like, that's a writing issue, not John Cena issue.
Did they play it as they didn't know that there were Decepticons and Autobots? And
well, maybe. But my thing is, like, he's a soldier. He's smart enough to realize that, okay, obviously something's going on here. Why are they killing each other? You know what I mean? It's like, it's not like robots are coming to invade the planet. It's one robot came, we shot at it before anything else, and then another robot came and it shot at us. now I guess
They all must be bad.
Now they all must be bad. It's like
Well,
have a
they
little
already-
self-awareness, I guess.
They'd
But
already decided
that
to
might be asking a lot of the U.S. military.
Also, a big robot monster thing lands. It's a little confusing, I think.
Sure,
But the
no,
thing
sure.
is, he
He
gets.
spoke to them though.
Yeah, they were shooting at him, and he's standing there going, I'm not trying, like, this is a misunderstanding, I'm not trying to hurt you, and they immediately start shooting again. That's the big thing that's like, it's like, at first it's like, I guess shoot at it, that's kind of a pretty rough way to go about it, but I guess shoot at him, but when he's clearly not trying to hurt you and says, hey, I'm not trying to hurt you, that's the moment where you cautiously stop shooting.
Yeah, and it seems like that was what was going to happen, and then the Decepticons showed up and killed everybody.
Well,
But
they didn't even, they were like,
Oh, definitely like right about to keep firing, but
Yeah.
I don't know, whatever. It was fun. The action sequences were pretty cool, but it wasn't really an action movie most of the time. It was kind of just super actiony in the beginning on Cybertron, and then really nothing else until the finale. And it was really just like kind of like a teen movie. It was about Haley Steinfeld's character coming to terms with some things in her life and learning how to be herself again and all that through her relationship with Bumblebee. But yeah, she's super likable. Bumblebee's cute as fuck. Yeah, it's good. I recommend going to see this one. I don't know, Freddie, would you say you need to rush out and see it in a theater, or could you potentially
you could definitely
wait?
you could see it at home.
Yeah.
I think seeing in the theater is definitely a better way to see it.
Always. But this
you
is
won't
one where it's like
lose it.
you're
Yeah.
trying to decide between this and the other two we're talking about. Definitely see Aquaman or Spider-Man in a theater.
Yeah,
And I would say Spider-Man.
Spider-Man.
Hands down.
If you only had one ticket to one movie and you had to pick between the three, I would easily recommend Spider-Man, and would not. I'd say the other two, if you missed them completely because of it for some reason, you'd be missing on Spider-Man before him.
Yeah. Speaking of Spider-Man Into the Spiderverse, it was directed by our Lords and Saviors, Phil Lord and Chris Miller.
It was not, actually.
Oh, wasn't it?
Mm-mm.
Oh, that's what Box Office Mojo says. That's lying to me, I guess.
It was these... They produced it, I believe. There was these three other people that...
Oh, okay. Well, my mistake.
Well, no, let's determine officially what it is.
Yeah, let's...
Because I remember during the movie, when they brought up the directors, I was expecting those two, but I think they wrote it and had a part in writing.
Okay, yeah. Sorry. Directors, Bob Persichetti and Peter Ramsey.
Yeah.
And
I
then
think Ramsey...
it was written by Phil Lord and
Ramsey?
Rodney Rothman.
Oh.
And then it was produced by Phil Lord, Chris Miller, and
Yeah.
Avi Arad, who's everyone's favorite insane Spider-Man fan. Anyway, it had a budget of $90 million. It made domestically $124,906,000, and foreign it made $109 million. Has it come out in Japan yet, though? I don't think it's come out in Japan yet.
Spider-Man?
Yeah.
No, and I think
That's gonna be fucking huge. Because did you see the basically anime trailer for Into the Spider-Verse?
No.
Like, a lot of fans were like, yo, this is like, the original in English is great, but the voice actors for Into the Spider-Verse in Japanese are fucking, like, if you like anime, it, like, gets you all up and, like, fucking pumped. It's like, they go hard, and it's very, like, the music's all anime, and they stylize the text and all that to go with. It's, like, almost looks like a different movie. But anyway... so total worldwide so far, it's just over $234 million, which is pretty good. It's made money, so that's good. And for an animated movie, which we'll get into,
and a non-MCU Marvel.
Yeah, that's pretty good. But it's starring. Gotta go to the IMDb here real quick. It's starring
John Mulaney.
Just John Mulaney.
John Mulaney.
As
He's
Spider-Man.
he's the most important character.
Besides the fact that he's not.
He's the most important character.
I don't want to pronounce this guy's name wrong. Katimae Moore? Is that how you pronounce his name?
I actually don't know how to pronounce it.
I feel bad for that one. But that's the guy who plays Miles Morales. I apologize if I butchered that. Then we have Jake Johnson playing...
Shameik Moore? I don't know.
Shameik Moore?
I don't
That
know.
sounds better. Shameik Moore played Miles Morales. You have
Chris Pine.
Jake Johnson playing Peter B. Parker.
And
You have
Chris
Haley
Pine.
Steinfeld playing Gwen Stacy. Going through the important ones.
She had 2 movies.
Yeah, right? Isn't that great? And then Mahershala Ali playing Uncle Aaron. Brian Tyree Henry played Jefferson Davis. Lily Tomlin was Aunt May.
Oh, yeah.
Zoe Kravitz was Mary Jane. You had Nicolas Cage as Spider-Man Noir. Catherine Hahn as Doc Ock. Liv Schreiber as Wilson Fisk.
Mm-hmm.
You had Chris Pine played the original Peter Parker. And that's really everyone that matters.
And John Mulaney plays Porky Pig.
The Peter Porker,
Peter
the
Porker.
Fantastic Spider-Ham.
So he is a spider that was bitten by a radioactive pig.
Yep.
Yes.
And it is hilarious.
Mm-hmm.
Hammers the...
So anyway, this is my favorite movie of the entire year, I think.
It's definitely up there for me.
It was gorgeous. I had goosebumps on my arms from pretty much the opening until it was over.
Mm-hmm.
I had tears in my eyes from pretty much the opening until it was over.
Mm-hmm.
For all different kinds of reasons that it could possibly have tears in your eyes. It is visually in my top 3 most beautiful films I've ever seen. The voice acting is incredible. They finally did a weird comic book story, but made it accessible to the masses, which is like... Weird shit is why comic books are so great. Like, you ask any fan, like, the fact that, like, we, like, multiverse theory and... I'm sorry, I got distracted by the fact that I have no idea where the cat went. Anyway, it's a movie that gets into multiverse theory, which is part of what a conceit that makes comic books interesting. It's like every possible what-if scenario you could ever imagine for your characters. Someday you might see that in a comic book. And it's cool to see that sort of leak into the mainstream for movies. Also, it's like kind of like what Black Panther did for the MCU. It's like there's a whole other demographic that this is aimed at that brings in more love to comic book and superhero movies. So that just means that we'll get more and better as we go along.
And it made the gatekeepers mad, which I love. That's always a good one. It's
What?
A gatekeeper. Someone who says you aren't a good enough fan, so you can't come in.
Yeah.
Or in the case of like Spider-Man, it's like Spider-Man has to be a white male, and the whole point of Spider-Man, as is the theme of the whole movie, is that's entirely untrue.
Untrue, yeah. And my favorite thing about that argument is that you're saying that against what the creator of Spider-Man said Spider-Man's supposed to be all about.
That's literally what he designed the character as.
So it's like, whatever. But yeah, no, it's funny because like we ran into this once or twice with movies that we've reviewed in the past where it's like I loved it so much and it was just so good that I couldn't think of anything interesting to say about it.
Yeah.
Because like my thoughts on it are so overwhelmingly positive.
Yeah.
That I really can't like.
I think the animation style is one of the coolest.
That was revolutionary too.
That's the thing.
They're working on a patent for the particular like Miles universe animation style because it was different depending on the universe they were in. And
the characters too all had their own animation style, which weirdly interacted with the animation style.
3D meets 2D.
Mm-hmm.
That particular
computerized, some hand drawn.
That technology that they invented to make it look the way it did, they're working on patenting.
Yeah.
Sony is anyway. So that's pretty cool. Get one up over on Disney. That'd be great as far as animation is concerned. But yeah, the lead who played Miles, it's like so good to see Miles on the big screen, for God's sake. Mm-hmm. And done interestingly, because when he was first invented, he was kind of just meant to be, okay, we have the Ultimate Universe. Let's make a new Spider-Man who's not a white guy.
Yeah.
And that's really the only difference. His story was almost the same, almost like to a T as Peter Parker, but he was biracial, so that's cool.
Yeah.
But no, like they then eventually the character evolved and grew into his own, and people fell in love.
Yeah.
And when it was time to redo, when it was Andrew Garfield's turn to be Spider-Man, everyone was like, "Hey, make Miles Morales." And they're like, "Nah." But Donald Glover, though, they're like, nah.
And then they made
Andrew Garfield Spider-Man, and that was fine. But then it was time to do it again for the Avengers, and everyone's like, who's gonna play Spider-Man? Make Miles Morales. And they're like, nah, but make Miles Morales though. We see Donald Glover's in the movie. Make Miles Morales. And they're like, ah.
And
so
then they
fun story.
reference him.
Fun story. The Uncle Aaron in this is the same guy that Donald Glover is playing in Spider-Man Homecoming. It's the same character. So that means Miles Morales exists in the MCU. Eventually we'll get Miles. I bet you that's...
The problem was they were too slow.
Yeah,
they were
definitely
too slow.
They were too slow. Sony's like,
first.
hey, by the way, Miles Morales. He's your new favorite Spider-Man, bitches.
Yeah,
yeah, definitely. It's easily my favorite Spider-Man movie.
I guess the big thing I'll say about Into the Spider-Verse is that I have yet to see a review that mentions anything majorly wrong with it. Mm-hmm. Any big bad things. Like, there are places where people are like, oh, I would have liked this or I would have liked that, but it was all like for good reason, but nitpicky.
Sure, yeah.
Like, I've only seen 4.5, 5 stars from when people are reviewing. Yeah.
I've seen the occasional, like alt-right lunatic,
well, yeah.
like going nuts on Rotten Tomatoes. But
humans that I know
human beings that are real people that are gonna do something as far as contributing to society. They are all almost uniformly loving this movie.
It's pretty close to a perfect movie-going experience.
Yeah.
And I think from a perspective of someone that isn't in love with comics, anybody can really love this movie.
Yeah.
I'm sure my mom has not seen it, but she would probably love it.
Well, that's the thing I like about it. It's got all the Easter eggs a boy could wish for or a girl could wish for. As far as like really deep dives and comic book references and stuff like that, it's got all of it. But it doesn't really like affect the overall plot too much. It's just like, hey, that's a cool thing. That makes me excited. But if you're just a normal fan, you're like, okay, that's cool.
I think it should be nominated for Best Picture this year, it won't,
no.
Unfortunately.
It'll definitely get the nom for animated movie.
And it'll win.
On Twitter, there's been a big conversation specifically between the directors, Phil and Miller, or Chris Miller, about it's animation is a medium, not a genre.
Yeah.
And it's unfortunate that it is labeled as the best animated film of the year, when really it is one of the best movies of the year.
It just is, yeah. In my top 3 for the year, at least.
It's pretty substantial. I don't know. But unfortunately, it's not making as much money as it should.
No, it really isn't. So I think, I will say, it's like, even though they made an accessible version of like a multiverse story, because, like, the real multiverse, Into the Spider-Verse comic involves, like, hundreds of different versions of Spider-Man and, like, these weird life force-sucking vampires that are hunting spider totems, and it's, like, it's insane, right?
Yeah.
So, like, they were never going to do that, but it's a cool way to introduce that concept, because now you have an unlimited pool of stories now to draw from.
Yeah.
Literally anything you want to do, yeah, sure, alternate dimension. Like, who cares? Like... So there's a post credits or mid credits, and I had oh my god, I was a fucking schoolboy again when that was happening. We're not gonna get into it because it's spoilery and I want you to experience it. But like just the way that played out and like what it's setting up. Oh my god!
Without a spoiler, basically it introduces the idea that this wasn't the only universe that was trying to break through. And it also had ones where people could see between them.
Yeah.
So basically, you start getting into the idea that it's like, this isn't the last movie they're going to be making.
No, and that's good.
Like, of the Spider-Verse. Not just like, okay, Miles Morales now is his world. Let's watch the same thing we've seen 4 reincarnations.
Yeah, no, these universal spanning Spider-Man movies seem like that's going to be a general theme across all of them. It's like... Spider-Man hopping across dimensions, and I'll bet you it'll lead up to the not as crazy as it gets in the comics, but it'll get there, and I'll bet you those guys will be the main bads, like those life force sucking family of interdimensional vampires. Mm-hmm. It's a good read. I'd check it out. But it was. I don't have anything but love for this movie and everything about it, and everyone involved with it.
There's one shot in the movie that I think is one of my favorites of all time, and there's a moment when Miles jumps off a building for the first time, and I didn't really realize it until it popped up on Twitter at some point. There's a like website called Script to Screen. What they do is they show the script as it scrolls through a scene in a movie. and when he jumps off the building, he's falling for the first time. But instead of showing him falling straight down, they flip the shot so that he looks like he's falling up. And he's falling as the buildings are moving past him, and he's falling upwards. And in the script, they write it that way. He's not falling down, he's falling up. And it's one of the coolest things. It gave me chills because in the movie, it's incredible.
Oh yeah, it's like it's probably my favorite like version of the whole like
Spider-Man finding his.
Not even just Spider-Man, like the main character getting off their ass and coming into their own and figuring out their way of doing things. That's definitely my favorite version of that. Like, I was so fucking pumped. And then that shot, because like it's the shot that's in the trailer, and all that. So like that's fine. But seeing it in the context of the movie gave me chills. It was incredible.
One of my favorite reviews of Into the Spider-Verse came from a person on Letterboxd. Their name's Celia, I'm assuming it's pronounced, and she talks about how to take this away from movies, in the video game, the Spider-Man video game that just came out, to use the beloved phrase in the reviews, they try and make you feel like Spider-Man. And she was talking about how that shot is probably one of the most like video game-esque, in that you sit there and you hold your breath as he's falling.
Yeah.
Because like you are just like, you are so engrossed in it that you just want to put your hand out and like try and shoot the web. And thwip. And how this movie has come the closest to like turning a video game into a movie, but in a way that makes sense.
Yeah.
Just through that one shot.
Yeah. It's just, again, we could prattle on about how awesome this movie is for the next 3 hours, but it'll all sound the same, and it'll all be to the tune of just go fucking see it if you haven't already.
Yeah, that was basically my review. Do
you and everyone you love a favor and go see it, and go see it with everyone you love who hasn't already seen it. Your grandparents will love this movie.
Yeah.
That's just, go do it. Go see it and go do it, and we're done with that. So for the rest of the episode, because the new year just happened, and I figure it'd be fun to like recap the movies that came out this year, go through how like the box office leaders by the end of 2018, the box office, like some of the movies that kind of flopped pretty hard, our favorites, biggest surprises, our biggest like letdown for the year, movies we regret not seeing in theaters, and that kind of thing. So to start things off, we're going to go with the box office leaders for 2018, and it should come as no surprise to anybody that Disney and Marvel just annihilated it this year. Black Panther was number one with a total gross of, hang on, let me pull it up. Just hold on for a second. Yeah. $1.3 million, billion dollars.
I was like, well, I don't think that's right at all.
Billion dollars, $1.3 billion. Domestic gross of over $700 million, just domestically all on its own. But that's one thing I wanted to say is
how much?
Over $700 million domestically, just in the United States. Well, that's the thing. That's how like that's an interesting thing. Is that you can tell I know it's gross that this is what it's described as, but the urban market, like, you know what I mean? Like, there's a whole demographic of people that don't give a shit about comic book movies, and then finally a comic book movie gets made that's not just about a white dude.
People want to see themselves on the screen.
Yeah.
And Black Panther and freaking Spider-Man did that finally.
Yeah.
At this year in particular, finally, we're starting to get a little more representation.
Absolutely. Oh, and one more thing about Into the Spider-Verse.
We're done with it.
Sorry.
It's back.
One of the Spider-Men that they have is the anime Spider-Girl, and that was great to see, because she was played by a Japanese actress and not a white woman putting on a cute voice, which is good. It's great to see.
ScarJo wasn't playing.
No, I was amazed that it wasn't Scarlett Johansson. But anyway, Black Panther was number one, but kind of close behind. Internationally, Infinity War made more money. Domestically, Black Panther made more money.
Makes sense.
Infinity War made $678 million domestically, but more more than Black Panther's entire worldwide gross internationally alone. It made $2 billion just worldwide, domestic and internationally.
So when Tyler's done with this list, I have some thoughts. Now, those two on the top of the list, I will say, great movies. I'm not pissed at those. There's like, this is gross to me, and
it's too much money.
It's really gross. But let you finish.
Yep. So then we have number 3, which might be a little surprising. Superheroes killed it this year. Incredibles 2.
That actually surprises me.
That one domestically made just around $600 million, and internationally made $634 for a total of 12 or 1.2 million or billion dollars.
I think it did well because it touched on 4 different markets instead of the original only went on 2. This one hit kids, then it hit our age who were kids when the first one came out. It hits kids' parents, and then it even touches on our parents because our parents had to watch the first one 1,000 times, but it was actually a good movie, so they'd be invested enough to actually go and see the second one. Not all of them, but that's a lot of demographics that all are invested in this movie.
I'm going to bring it back up when we get into regrets for the year, because I never actually ended up seeing this one in the theaters.
Okay.
And I still haven't seen it.
Yeah.
So well, just right off the bat, that's my biggest regret since we're talking about it, is that I didn't get to see Incredibles 2 this year. And then Brian's going to be pissed about this one. Number 4, Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom made $416 million domestically, and almost $900 million foreign. So the list I have, it's a little confusing because Box Office Mojo is weird, but so these are in numerical order as far as domestic gross. Infinity War is the top grossing worldwide, then Black Panther, then this actually.
Well, it makes sense
because it made $1.3 billion worldwide, and that's a theme. Schlocky American bullshit that you don't really need to hear them talking to get enjoyment out of does well overseas.
I'm just gonna jump into it. So,
hang on. There's one more.
Just as a quick aside to what you were saying, it makes sense that it's in domestic because the domestic releases are by our calendar year. If something came out in November of 2018, it'll have its full run here. But there are like European countries where it won't show yet. Like it still hasn't come out.
No, that's a good point.
So I get the domestic.
That's a good point.
But
anyway,
total aside. Number 5.
Deadpool 2. But like way behind the other 4, like by a lot.
Yeah.
It didn't do poorly.
Yeah.
Just way behind the rest of them. Only made a fucking measly $324 million domestically, and then internationally it made $418 million. And so for a total of $742 million, which is like super modest for a blockbuster. But again, when your budget's $100 million and you pull in $742 million, everybody goes home happy because that's all around $500 million for people to enjoy.
Yeah.
These numbers are like ludicrous. Like everyone you have ever known personally could be in a room compiling all of their resources, and you wouldn't get close to Deadpool 2's domestic gross. It's like ridiculous. But anyway, Brian has a rant that he's been saving up, and I want him to get into it.
Why would you ever make a small indie movie now? Why? There's no reason to now. Like, those numbers, and this is me talking from Disney's perspective.
Yeah. Why would Disney Disney ever make one?
Ever. And now especially they've just purchased Fox. Fox, one of the few places, Fox Searchlight, Fox Movies in general, one of the few places that are still letting people make their indie movies.
Low cost, low profit.
Has been purchased by Disney.
Yeah.
Now, maybe I'm being a little too pessimistic about it. But those numbers, if you're interested in movies and in filmmaking and like the art of filmmaking, you should be a little nervous. But I will say, Black Panther and Infinity War are like standalone, like very good movies. They separate themselves, I think.
Well, I have two little counters, because I agree it's a terrifying time for young small filmmakers, but at the same time the big budget movies that count, so your Marvel movies, and your like bigger animated movies, everything's going to be owned by Disney, so whatever.
Your Disney movies.
What made Black Panther great was that it had a point to it. It wasn't just look at these superheroes punch each other. It's all about racial identity and a fucking horribly disenfranchised group of people the world over having a chance in the spotlight and being able to relate to someone who, you know what I mean, like that character, right? That's fucking great, and it was a great way to do that. Killmonger has a great message at the end of his character arc in that movie. Blah. Infinity War is about one of the most like emotionally fleshed out villains in the history of superhero movies, going on a quest that he genuinely believes is what needs to happen to save the entirety of existence.
Which it's still...
It's a flawed argument.
It's literally the worst argument.
It's a flawed argument, but that's what makes him so interesting, is that he is genuinely willing to sacrifice everything that he cares about to do what he deems is the morally right thing to do. To the extent that he sacrifices some things that are fucking just latched onto his heart. And it's like, okay, again, it's a superhero movie. There are arguments to be made that, no, he's just a bad guy. But in the end, that's what it was about, right? So, like, people are finding ways to plug in more, like, important, deep concepts to the bigger movies. And I will say also, Bohemian Rhapsody, A Star Is Born, A Quiet Place, and Crazy Rich Asians were all in the top 15 this year. So, like, it's not only the superhero and sci-fi show, but I agree. It's like, yeah. Well, it's I mean, just to go through the entirety of the top 10, I'm going to rattle them off.
Real quick. I think I would be willing to bet we could look at the list of the movies coming out for the next year and we could easily predict.
Sure, absolutely.
100%.
Of course.
And Star Wars now being in the mix.
Oh, yeah.
But Star Wars did themselves a disservice this year.
This year, yes.
We'll get to that in a second. But carrying on from Deadpool, we have Dr. Seuss's The Grinch, which, fuck that.
Interesting.
Aquaman, Mission Impossible Fallout, Ant-Man and the Wasp, and then Solo: A Star Wars Story. But don't let that fool you. That movie cost $700 million to make, and argue with me. Because the original budget was $250 million. And then they shot the whole fucking movie again, and then they marketed the whole thing. So, assuming we won't say it was $250 million to reshoot the whole thing again. Because maybe they had a lot of the effects done and the sets were already built, blah, 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 blah. Modestly, like...
a waste of money.
Conservatively... over $100 million for all those reshoots.
They lost a whole bunch of money on that movie.
And then they marketed it to fucking death because they knew no one was going to go see it. So the marketing budget was probably more than double the original budget. So let's just, for a ballpark, we'll say, yeah, right around $600 million this movie costs to make. And it grossed, here, let me see. Yeah, not that. Worldwide, $392 million, which is... decent, but when you spend almost double that just to shoot the fucking thing, like, didn't do well.
You just have to wonder how much a kid going to see that actually buys a toy. Because that's basically Disney's machine now, is go and buy a toy after.
Yeah.
And, like, Solo... I just wonder if it made an effect. Because, like, the other Star Wars movies definitely have.
Yeah.
I don't know if this one has.
Not really.
No, people I mean, that's a whole other conversation.
Well, that's the thing, is Mr. Sunday Movies is a great YouTube channel. We are not affiliated in any way, but I'm a big fan. And he had the way he feels about Solo is the way I really think it is. It's like, you want people to talk about your Star Wars movie. Either take a massive swing and miss, like a lot of people think The Last Jedi was, or, like, it's really good. The worst possible thing that could happen to Star Wars is a movie that just exists.
It's a movie about space.
Like
There's
Solo.
so much going on.
Like Solo, though. Like, it's not good.
How can you make a Star Wars...
It's not bad. It just exists. It's just a movie you can watch sometimes and eat popcorn to, and sometimes you go, huh.
How can you make one that's underwhelming? That's the thing that gets me about it.
Yeah.
Is how do you make a movie that's a space opera taking place during a hundreds of year-long war
when you have all of the money that has ever existed on the planet because you're Disney.
Yeah, but like, even if it was small budget, like, you can't make it not interesting, and they did it.
Yeah, it's a character that everyone knows already.
And that's well, the thing is, it's like, you could even have a character everyone knows and it be interesting. They they didn't just miss. They did that comical thing where you swung the bat, miss, and you spin your way off the field.
Yeah.
So like, it's just like, well, there goes Solo. It wasn't good knowing you.
So if you haven't figured it out, we're in the flops part of the conversation. Some other notable flops, chime in whenever you want. Annihilation, which I didn't see that one.
It just flopped. It was well received.
It was well received, but it didn't make fucking any money.
Which I guess, well, no, I guess that gets into a conversation we were talking about earlier, which is at what point is a flop just a like monetary flop, but not one that like actually is bad. Like,
so for the sake of this conversation, we're just going to be talking about monetary flops.
Yeah. Because we'll get into disappointments later, but then that gets into, like, Annihilation was incredibly well received, and I was saying earlier, you also get into the it only makes so much in the box office, but if everyone who sees it wants to buy it either on Amazon or on Blu-ray, well, that doubles your money.
The argument there is, like, it made its way pretty quickly onto international streaming. I don't know if it made it onto United States Netflix, but it made it on to English and Australian Netflix, and it did really well.
That is one of the reasons why it did not do well. Mm-hmm. It was because it went on Netflix first internationally. Yeah. And that fucked it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So that one's a little bit less of a... That one's kind of sad, but it's not really that... It doesn't really affect anything about that movie. Like, people saw it. That's the thing. It's like, tons and tons of people saw it. It just didn't make money at the box office.
James and I went to see it. It was pretty good.
I didn't see it. I really wanted to, and I didn't have... Part of why I didn't see it is because that's one of those movies where I want to go with someone, and I didn't... Like, I missed out on being able to go with you guys, and so I just never got around to it. Anyway, A Wrinkle in Time. Remember that weird fucking movie that Disney made? So that's the other part of my argument. Is that Disney is being shown... Yeah, when we try to do weird things that aren't already... Like, just remakes of the movies we've already made, or nerd shit... like Star Wars and superhero movies, we get kicked in the ass. So why would we ever try again? Because Wrinkle in Time comes out, and apparently was pretty good. Visually pleasing to look at. The story was fun. The sci-fi was pretty sound. The kids did pretty well, but no one cared. And they spent so much money marketing this movie.
Well, so I did not see this one. I heard that it was a disappointment in terms of just the movie. Yeah.
Oh,
okay.
Yeah. Everything I heard was that it was beautiful, but the story is just so lackluster and convoluted that by the end you don't care anymore.
Okay.
You're just along for the ride. And through that, the acting is fine and like I said, visually amazing. You lose the movie aspect of it. It might as well have just been like a picture book.
Yeah, I hear you. So there's that one, and then one of the ones that I really, really wanted to see, but I never got to was Robin Hood with Taron Egerton.
Is that out of theaters already?
No, it's still in.
Okay, so you haven't missed out yet.
No, actually, no, it's out. Yeah,
that went in and out real quick.
But I thought that was end of November.
It was, but
oh, wow. Okay.
They buried that one real quick.
Because, it made... Oh, wow. So the production budget was $100 million, and it grossed total $73 million.
See, if they didn't take it out and they just let it run, it would filter
Yeah,
in.
but you gotta pay... That's another thing, too. Part of the overall cost of a movie is paying movie theaters to keep your movie.
Yeah.
And that's not part of the marketing that you add, so that's like...
Yeah.
That's a whole extra, like, $50 million that they probably spent to have this movie play places. And if it's just not making money, you're like, no, get it out, kill it, we're done.
Yeah.
We'll make our money somewhere else. And it sucks, because the few people I know who actually managed to see it before it was out of theaters said it was, as far as Robin Hood movies go, pretty fun, and like as action movies go, it was fine. You know what I mean? I think the problem with this one is they spent too much money making it. This one should have been like $80 million tops as far as budget. They put too much money into it. But yeah, so that was another big flop because again, like 4 different trailers for it. Like pretty good cast. You fucking Jamie Foxx, Taron Egerton. That's like those are 2 pretty big names right now. All that. Plus you had everyone's favorite villain, Ben Mendelsohn. He's having a great fucking couple years. Leonardo DiCaprio produced this movie? Huh. What?
Yeah, he's got a production company.
Okay, cool.
He's got the rights to The Devil in the White City, which I'm excited for. You guys heard of this one?
No.
It's about H.H. Holmes, who's a like the America's like infamous serial killer, killed like hundreds of people.
Okay.
There's a book about it, and Scorsese and him have the rights to it. So
Ooh, interesting.
yeah.
All right, and then here's another pretty major fucking flop. The Happy Time Murders.
Which I didn't see it, but I had hoped it was going to be good.
That's the thing. Wyatt saw it and thought it was really funny. Everyone else saw it and was like, I don't know.
Is that the puppet one?
That's the one with Melissa McCarthy and raunchy, naughty puppets.
She's just so out of the light of favor that like so many people are like just annoyed with the character.
She was in something this year that apparently is incredible.
Can You Ever Forgive Me, I think is what it's called.
Yeah, it's because she doesn't play her usual character.
Yeah.
And so she's actually good when she does
Yeah,
that.
no, absolutely. But this movie had a production budget of $40 million, and it only grossed $27 million like worldwide. So that's a loss.
In the red, as they say.
I think a big problem with this one is it just didn't look very good.
Yeah, they didn't sell it.
Like the Red Band trailer was pretty funny, but most people aren't going to see a Red Band trailer. So you're trying to sell a raunchy puppet movie, and you use the watered down versions of all your jokes.
The early 2000s want your movie back.
Pretty much.
I don't think. Yeah, that's not a movie that will sell that like that type of comedy now. I don't think.
No, it was just puppets jizzing on each other, and
if it isn't the Muppets, I don't think it's gonna really sell.
Like
anymore.
silly string, yeah, like that's the thing is like silly string semen spraying all over a fucking office. Like they're like, all right, okay. That's great for like a Netflix show. Like if they released the Happy Time Murders as like a miniseries on Netflix, it probably would have done okay. But because they tried to make it a big budget not big budget, that's a nothing budget, $40 million, pshaw.
But it's also puppets, so you just get the puppet and the puppet master and you're halfway done with the movie. Seriously though.
But yeah, so that one was a bit of a monetary letdown for the world. But yeah, that's any other movies that you thought were coming out that you can think of that might be able to be considered a flop?
I thought the Watson and Holmes, or Holmes and Watson, was going to be...
I thought it was going to sell.
I thought it was going to make a lot, but apparently
it's doing poorly.
And it is like one of the most unfunny movies of the year.
That one's doing really poorly.
People are walking out.
Yeah.
That's a whole another level of bad. Like we'll talk about our letdowns of the year. We did not walk out of any of them.
No, I didn't walk out of a movie
I didn't walk out of a single movie this year, which I usually don't do anyway, but like that's just a whole nother level of bad, because do
you want to just get into our favorites?
Sure.
Movies that we saw that we really, really liked this year. My number one, I know I said it was Spider-Man. Disregarding that, so we don't have to go down that we love Spider-Man rabbit hole again. Another one of my favorites, probably my number 2 for the year, was Mission Impossible Fallout. That one currently holds my record for most times seen a movie in a theater. I saw it 7 times in theaters. Now don't worry, Mom. I had an A-list, so I just pay $20 a month, which is just the cost of a movie ticket.
Practically, yeah.
Pretty much. And then I can go 3 times a week. So that's how I did that. Don't worry. But yeah, that one I really fucking love. That's about as perfect a action blockbuster as you can get. That's not a superhero movie.
It's akin to War of the Planet of the Apes.
Yeah, exactly. Because it's like
action movie meets art house.
Seriously, and you want to talk about the underappreciation of stunt work and stunt choreography in movies. The fact that there isn't going to be a category for stunt work and stunt performance for this movie alone this year is a travesty.
Yeah.
Is that just off the top of my head, the $25,000 or $1,000 foot Halo jump that they did over 100 times with actual Tom Cruise and camera crews and stuntman over 100 times in 2 locations just to get one take Halo jump that was real.
This is
come on.
That's Fallout in a nutshell. They do too much for practically no award.
It's Tom Cruise's Revenant.
Well, it's Tom Cruise's.
Watch me eat meat as I jump out of a giant plane.
Him and Leo DiCaprio method acting in one movie would break. That would break them. Like, just, I don't know what it would break, but it would break.
You would have Leo just sitting in a room eating a bowl filled with organs
and punching glass.
And Tom Cruise jumps down a mountain. He's like, There's no reason for the scenes to be tied together. That's just what happens, and they both win an Oscar, but they can't be there because Leo has like fucking tumors all over his stomach because he
broken hand.
And a broken hand because he ate too much, and then Tom Cruise is catatonic because he never woke up after that mountain stunt.
And then they show up in the next movie, okay?
Yeah,
and we're like, what?
Seriously,
What?
their ability, like Tom Cruise's ability to destroy his body with stunt work and recover as a fucking almost 60-year-old is ridiculous. Almost as ridiculous as Christian Bale's disregard for his own.
Oh yeah, throw him in that
his own bodily health. That man goes from 180 pounds to 290 pounds fat to 140 pounds to 280 pounds buff in like no one on the face of the earth. Like, it's ridiculous. That's one that I really want to see. Vice. I never got to see that one. I really want to see that one. Apparently it's fantastic.
I saw it. I think it's on my letdown list. I'll talk about it when we get there.
Yeah.
I just want one more favorite this year. You know what? I just completely lost it. Never mind. One of you guys go.
You go ahead.
All right, so I have a whole list. I'm going to go through them, and I'll label which ones are my, I think, true favorites.
I remember.
What was
it? It was Halloween. I was so surprised by how much I enjoyed that. Yeah. It's like, I'm not usually a horror fan, but that one made me so happy.
Because it's an action movie.
I'm sure.
I think. And that's on my letdown list as well. So favorites were Hereditary, definitely number one on my spot. Blind Spotting, Three Identical Strangers, which is an amazing documentary. You should see it. Spider-Man, Burning, Roma, First Reformed, and then Won't You Be My Neighbor. So I think my top three, definitely Hereditary. Personally, and I know a lot of people, this is kind of like a... But this one is on the line for most people. It's either you hated it or you loved it. It is, I think, the scariest movie I've ever seen. My favorite horror movie probably of all time. Maybe one or two. Blind Spotting, probably number two. This one was incredibly surprising. I didn't hear anything about this movie. It stars Daveed Diggs, and I'm totally blanking on the other guy's name. I don't remember, but both of them play these two guys.
Raphael Cassell.
That's it. Growing up in Oakland, they are best friends, and they kind of are in the middle of the major changes going on in Oakland currently, and the appropriation hipsters coming into town, taking everything that they know and love, and at the same time, the relationship between them, one guy being black, one guy being white, and how the white guy kind of has to appropriate in order to kind of survive in that environment. Super interesting. And then my third was probably Roma. And I know that's like the film school one, but I 100% feel for that movie. Yeah. It was incredible. If you can see it in theaters, go see it, because it is beautiful.
There's like a period of a couple months there from like late September until like right around now where I just wasn't seeing any movies. And I feel bad because a lot of these really great movies came out during that time frame. So like movies that I'm disappointed I didn't get to see is Blind Spotting I didn't get to see. What's the other one James really loved? Oh, well, besides that, Black Klansman I didn't get to see. Really wanted to see that. Just a bunch of movies that came out that everyone really, really loved. Said were fantastic. I just missed because I was dealing with some other shit, and I never got around to it. So like that's my biggest disappointment was how much I let myself down in the like tail end of the year because I was doing so well and I had no reason to not see these movies, and I just didn't get around to so many of them. But anyway,
that was it. Oh, and for runner-up on those top three was First Reformed, which is Ethan Hawke playing a priest who's starting to lose his religion. Think Taxi Driver meets church, and it's real good. I was super surprised. I actually watched it recently at work. We had nothing going on.
Well, that's technically it's 2017.
Movies, so. First Reformed?
Yeah. It
was made and meant for release in 2017.
It's a weird one but
it got re-released in 2018.
Yeah, it's a very odd one where it went online when you look it up. I think it says 2017.
Yeah, it says that's what I'm looking at it on the IMDb right now.
But
it's 2017 in parentheses, but 18 May 2018
They did some
USA.
kind of weird re-release thing to get it so that it's up for Oscars this year.
Another one that I really loved this year was A Quiet Place.
Oh yeah.
I forget that one came out. That one came out in April.
I have that on my list, but for surprises.
Yeah.
Quiet Bird Plays.
Yeah.
Bird
Overlord.
Plays. Yeah, that's on my surprise list.
That's not a surprise list.
All right, keep going. That one's kind of sad because I was telling Freddie earlier. Where do you think it placed in the list of box office performance this year?
Probably pretty low.
You think? Yeah, it was number 101 for all releases. It did worse than Won't You Be My Neighbor. Oh, Bad Times at the El Royale was another flop.
Mm-hmm.
I saw that recently.
Sorry to Bother You was the one I was thinking of just now.
What, as a flop or as a...
No, like one of the ones that I like.
Oh, regret not seeing.
Regret not seeing.
Well, we'll get into biggest letdowns after.
Mm-hmm.
But
8th Grade I didn't get to see. That still hurts me because I'm such a huge fan of Bo Burnham. But yeah.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So I have my list. I agree with all of Brian's except for one, which we'll get into for letdowns. But I don't have any of his because I kind of didn't want any of the ones that I thought he would have. So I have Miseducation of Cameron Post and Love, Simon. I have Suspiria, American Animals, Sorry to Bother You. I have Into the Spiderverse and Thunder Road. Mm-hmm. And so a lot of these ones I picked were specifically ones that it's like they weren't the top 5 best-selling just because those are also on my favorites, but I don't need to talk about them because we all saw them. So both Miseducation of Cameron Post and Love, Simon were both LGBTQIA plus movies, which was super cool to see, and they both took very different paths. Love, Simon was more of him keeping it secret from the world and going about his life with this big secret as it slowly reveals, whereas Miseducation of Cameron Post is her getting caught and being sent to a I guess re-education camp, more or less, is being told that being gay is bad, and her living there. And I think both takes were very interesting, and I liked them both very much. And then American Animals was probably my favorite documentary from the year because it took a very interesting take on it that I had never seen before, in that it had actors playing like this is what happened, but also had the guys telling their story. So they acted as narrator for a story that you got to watch play out in front of you, and with all of the sort of, I guess, gimmicks, but all sort of the things that go with that, with having the first-hand accounts from these different people. Sorry to Bother You was amazing. I can't really get into that one without just fawning over it. So I'll just say, like, if you haven't seen it already, definitely go see it, because it's so much fun, and at the end of it, you just are so happy that you saw it. Into the Spider-Verse, obviously, we talked about. And then Thunder Road, which Brian and I saw together, was also on my surprise list, but I couldn't not have it be on my favorites, because it was just, I knew it would be good, because it was vetted to me as gonna be good, but just how good it was, it almost made me not like 8th Grade as much, because it tells the same story, but from the dad's perspective, and the way that it did it was just so cute and fun, and you just sort of like, when the movie ends, you're mad, because you're just like, I could have watched another 2 hours of that.
It's sad because I don't think many people would see or have seen it or will see it.
Or even know it exists.
Know it exists, and that's why it definitely is the one that I talk about most in this, and that it's just...
It was a Sundance short film that got very popular that year, whenever it came out. It was maybe 2013, 14, and they got the money to make a feature film out of it, based off of the short.
And it was...
It's a great story, too.
And the short is the first, 15 minutes of the movie.
One long take, and it's just so awkward and, so uncomfortable. And then from that, they basically... It's like in improv, you do the games at the beginning. I don't know, I haven't done too much improv, but you do the games at the beginning that make you, loosey-goosey, so that you can sort of... That's what that one take is you sit through that, you go... Okay, it can't get worse. And it, doesn't, but, only because you've already sat through the part that's just so, you're just, by the end, you're like, oh.
But yeah, so I definitely that would be my big recommend is Thunder Road.
Yeah, it's another one of those that giant list of movies that I didn't get to see. Yeah. All right. One for the letdowns. Not because it was bad, but because no one cared about it. It would be Overlord. I really had a great time with that movie. I was so excited for it. I love the cast, and then no one saw it. It had a budget of $38 million, and it made just over 40, which is not good.
I mean, it was a B movie.
Yeah, it really was.
Yeah,
but in the best way possible. I know that I hate using that because it can be like a negative connotation, but it was a B movie. It was a good B Nazi zombies, and it was so fun. Probably one of my favorites of the year as well, because it was just from beginning to end real fun. But.
Yeah, I had it as a surprise because I just didn't expect what it came out to be, because the way that they sold it was like a horror - war, and what you got was more of like a war like thriller. It's a genre bender breaker that you just don't. It wasn't at all.
Not too much zombies, not too much war.
No, little from column A, little from column B, and
it's the dash of like romance.
Yeah, and it's like scary, but it never gets so scary that you like. If you're not a huge fan of horror, that you just want out.
And it's gross, like horrific in terms of like gross, but it's never where you're like. Ugh. It's not like body horror.
Yeah, it's just not. Sort of it's not like it's just it's really good. Like they did a good job of just making a movie that was entertaining because it was a lot of different things. And the cast was good. Like again, Wyatt, what's his name?
It's
Wyatt Russell. Wyatt Russell is one of my favorite actors right now, and I love seeing him in more stuff. And I love seeing him in more stuff like this.
It's Kurt Russell's son.
Yep.
Oh yeah, that's right.
And what's her name? I'm blanking on the wife, but another famous person.
But yeah, so that one was a good one, but a letdown because it wasn't received. Period. Like no one saw it.
Yeah. So go see that too, please.
Yeah, you guys go ahead for your.
So my biggest letdowns this year. So, and I will say that some of these I went into not with the highest hopes, but there's always the part of me that's like, come on, please be good. Fantastic Beasts 2 was not fun and so confusing the entire time. It truthfully was just pretty bad. Kind of sad. Like, crazy that a Harry Potter movie came out this year and it's nowhere on that top 10 radar. And you could also say it's not a Harry Potter movie.
Yeah, it's the universe, but...
Next one was... This one's on the edge. Vice. I absolutely love The Big Short, and this one left me wanting more, and it also felt that it was kind of all over the place. You have to see it to know. And a little too heavy-handed. I think he was a little more clever in the last one. But... go and see it because it is good. It tells the story that I'd never heard before. So,
kind of does it. So, Dick Cheney's kind of this like mythological creature as far as American politicians go.
There's no way he should be allowed to be a human around us. Yeah, and he's a public figure.
Yeah, but like I'm curious how like what this story about him like will make like if it'll change that, if it'll make it worse. Does nothing.
The way that Christian Bale put it was, he's a big boy. He'll deal with it.
Well, I just meant more like people's opinion of him, not him. I don't give a fuck about him. Yeah. I just mean like the way...
Sadly, I don't think it changes much. Because I think the people...
The people that are like a huge fan...
Yeah.
Like,
if you're a fan of a guy after he shoots someone in the face... Like, if you're okay with him after that moment... there's nothing he can do.
There's a funny moment in the movie.
He's on his third heart, isn't he?
Yeah. They get that. The whole movie is about
his first heart went bad. Yeah. His second heart went bad, and now he's on his third one. I think.
There's a good. You guys got to see it. Yeah. But apparently, I don't know. I think this actually happened when he shot the guy. The guy ended up going on live TV to apologize to Cheney.
Yeah, that did happen.
So anyhow. Halloween's on my list. I'm a huge Halloween fan, and there's like half of this movie that I really liked. It just, I don't know, it was weird for me.
I hear you.
Wasn't scared at all throughout. That's the big thing I think that kind of irked me was the first one, the original, even like the ones after are kind of creepy. This one was more too funny and just too action-y.
Well, it's funny because like one of the movies that was on my letdown list is Fallen Kingdom, because I'm a pretty big fan of the first one, but I never saw. So, just be careful what I say here, because I could lose a lot of credibility as a film person.
I don't have any credibility.
Fallen Kingdom's on my list next.
So, the Jurassic Park movies, I saw all of them, and I really like and appreciate all of them. But way after, like, every other film person I know saw them. Like, I saw the first Jurassic Park in its entirety, like, 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And that's just, when I was growing up, there was a lot of movies that I saw that a lot of people never saw, like, a lot of, like, black and white World War II movies and cowboy movies and stuff that I grew up seeing, and noir films that I saw before most of my friends, but that also meant that there was a lot of classics. There was a lot of weird opinions. There's a lot of weird opinions in my house as far as movies and filmmakers and actors go. Like, my dad is mostly responsible for that, but he's kind of coming off of it. Like, hated Johnny Depp for the longest time, and then he finally came around to him just in time for him to come out as a wife beater, and now he hates him again, and like.
Well, not just wife beater, but his personal life is just
a
awful.
Shit show. Yeah, but it's like people like Brad Pitt. Like, there's no reason to dislike Brad Pitt, really.
I mean, he is gorgeous.
My dad, he's like any of those actors, like Brad Pitt, Tom Cruise, Ryan Gosling.
Tom Cruise is a bit of a
Ryan Gosling. Who's another one? Ryan Reynolds. Like all those like guys that are just like. So Ryan Reynolds got famous for rom-coms. Ryan Gosling got famous for rom-droms. You know what I mean? Like those guys, he's like they have no credibility in my dad's eyes. So like movies like that were just out of the house. We didn't see him.
Yeah.
But like I've seen The Longest Day.
If they're not Stallone,
5
then
times.
nobody.
Kinda. But yeah, like so when I finally saw the Jurassic movies, what got me to want to see them is Jurassic World, because that's the first one I saw start to finish in one go. You know?
That's an interesting viewing of those.
Yeah.
So
not
because
knowing
like I had
references.
bits and pieces and references and like iconic shots and scenes, like I knew all that. It's like they're on TV so much that like I've seen most.
When
of
they
them.
go in and you see the skeleton.
Yeah. Like I'm like,
oh,
okay, I get it. I know where we are. I know what's happening.
The first one.
But it was cool seeing it, like what I imagine the people in the movie would have, like the characters in the movie would have been experiencing all of that the same way I was experiencing it. Like I had shades of all the other stuff. So like to me, the first one is just a pretty fun blockbuster movie that you're not supposed to take seriously. You know?
And that's almost how it was made too.
And then so I was expecting and hoping for that again with the second one. And I will say, didn't hate it. A lot of real dumb decisions.
Yeah.
But like I loved the horror elements in this one. Like I loved how fucking freaky the dinosaur was sometimes, and then the rest of the time you're like, it's just a fake monster that can't possibly ever exist, and they'll kill it. But like some of the time, like the shot where she's backing up and it's silent, but like the claw is coming up behind her and it just gets a little bit of her ponytail and she freaks out. That gets a double clap. I know what you were referencing, but. That's good. And then the shot where it's creeping up her bed, and it mostly just whenever they use the dinosaur's claw to be scary, that was cool.
Which is, I mean, the funny part is an entire callback to the first movie where that's the thing he uses to scare the kid in the opening scene is the claw, and he just shows it and it like shows the kid's face and he's like, oh.
And then I will say, and then having had seen the originals, I'm like, oh, okay, I get why Brian hates these movies.
Yeah.
They took the second movie and just fucking remade
it.
And it is so Tyler knows how much I hate these movies, and the first one, what's crazy is I love the first one now. The second, I hated the second one so much because they just so obviously took the whole, like, we're going to go to the island. We're just going there to save the island. Oh, no, we're going to steal.
It's kind of funny that you have this opinion, but you love The Force Awakens.
Yeah, I do. Because it worked.
Why did it work, though? And because I think Jurassic World worked. I don't think it's... Actually, they might be about on par for me.
Like in terms of like
Force Awakens and Jurassic World, as far as how much I enjoy watching them.
I think. Well, this is a whole. We're gonna.
Yeah,
I don't want to
get into
basically.
this.
I think that they did new stuff with Force Awakens in terms of creating new people and characters that can go somewhere.
And I will say, are you still recording?
Has it been recording?
Well, it was like a second ago, and then I just popped back in to see. Sorry about that. I was just making sure that we were recording still.
I died.
So yeah, more or less, I hated those movies. Fallen Kingdom. I think what irks me so bad is that the first one's great. Stop making them.
You mean Jurassic World?
No, sorry. The original movie was great. I'm slowly getting more annoyed by how many. And once again, I get the bias. I love Star Wars.
Oh, sure.
I get it. But there's a lot of movies, and Disney's been doing this. It's just...
Well,
Disney's
there's so
not...
many...
Jurassic World's not Disney.
I'm saying Disney is doing this. But
Disney is.
But a lot of people are just... They're remaking movies.
Oh, no, absolutely.
And what hurts me is that it just is very obviously we're explosions, and we're going to sell it to the foreign market.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
You know how they have...
That part of it is gross. I don't necessarily have, like, a deep-seated distaste for like blockbusters. I think a well-made blockbuster is just as much art as your Love Simons of the world. You can say just as much. Most of the time they don't. I grant that, but you can. I think if the next one, the next Jurassic World, which looks like it's gonna be insane, because spoiler alert, you've been warned about fucking Jurassic World: Fallen Kingdom. The movie ends with the dinosaurs getting out and integrating into like regular society.
Has the potential to be
that could be fucking awesome. Yeah. Like that could be really fun. Like,
but it's also the same sort of thing as like Purge movies, where it's like the concept behind them is like these should be the greatest movies ever, and they've just failed to deliver. Which is I didn't include it, but it was a letdown this year. This one was definitely the best of them all for me, and it was still like it was just so close to being what you want it to be.
But anyway, so that's what I'm saying. It's like if they go full like. So the thing that for me held me back for this one is they were so close to just tipping right over the ledge into self-aware self-parody in a way. They were so close, but they tried to keep their legitimacy too much. Like with the character of Owen, that's Chris Pratt's character. It's like you meet him in the first one and he's working on a fucking motorcycle and living next to a lake, right? In a trailer. Or not a trailer, but like a fucking...
No, that was his real life.
Swamp house.
Building a house.
But he's like a man, you know, he's a real man. And he cracks open a glass bottle of Coke in the best, like, most appetizing way. And you're like, something's going on here. But then the next one, Bryce Dallas Howard meets him. And before they go drink beers in one of the most masculine dive bars I've ever seen, he's building his own house. By hand, with his motorcycle parked out front and a pickup truck just not far away. And it's like, all right, we get it. This guy's like, he's a badass. Like, and there's a shot of him riding a fucking motorcycle with a pack of raptors in the first one. Like, you don't need to legitimize this guy as a badass anymore. Make jokes about it. Like, there was one joke that was like a little bit of a...
Self-aware poke.
Self-aware poke is when the goofy nerdy character and is trying to... They're getting on the plane. He's trying to talk to Owen, and Owen's all like, "Oh, you're a nervous flyer," and the nerdy guy's like, "Oh, would you ride a 10,000-pound metal horse that has been abused all its life?" And Owen says that I rode my motorcycle through the jungle with a pack of raptors, and the guy goes, "We're not compatible for conversation." And it's like, that's pretty funny. Like, yeah, more shit like that. Like, Owen is not a real human being. Make that a joke. You know what I mean? Like, go almost full Sharknado with that kind of thing. But they don't. So that's kind of what upset me about this one. But anyway.
The very last one on my list is Bohemian Rhapsody.
Oh, yeah.
I love the story of Queen in general. And there's a lot I didn't know. So I will say I came out having learned some stuff, but also found out that all of it was lies.
So they took some liberties.
Let's be
fair.
They took some liberties, and I don't know. It just, you could tell that they held back a lot of the story of actually what happened with Freddie's life.
That's me.
It's doing well though. It was it was like number 12 I think on the list.
And then probably half an hour too long, I think. They show the whole Live Aid concert.
Heard a cool thing. So they played the movie in that stadium.
Oh, they did?
Yeah. And the sound editor did a special sound mix
For the stadium?
So it sounded like the show would have. His best approximation. But it sounded like it would have.
That's cool.
That's really cool. Things like that are really cool. Freddie, do you have... Yeah.
Letdowns? I will say nearly all of them I had positive reviews for. I'm going into it with that. But I'll start with... first one's on my list is Upgrade. I thought that it was a really, really good movie, but I just walked out of it and felt like there was a lot of place... Like, not that I had problems with it, it just left me very unsatisfied, and it, like, its message was old school sci-fi in a way where it's like, science is bad, and then, like, you sort of get to the end and you're like, okay, I get it. You don't need to redeem it, but, like, give me something else to work with here, and they just don't.
Also, it had one of the coolest opening title sequences, I think, in a
Oh,
movie
yeah,
I've ever
and I
seen.
thought it was visually amazing. Like, there were some shots in there that I would print out and hang up on my wall as posters, like, easily. The story left me wanting more. Not in terms of, like, I want another movie, which I kind of do too, but, like, it just, I feel like, didn't tell me everything it could have. And so that was sort of why it made the list for me. I have Mowgli, which is a Netflix movie that just came out like a month ago, I'm pretty sure, maybe even less. It came out on the heels of Jungle Book, and I think Mowgli could have been better pretty easily, because it was the story of it was way more interesting because we've seen Jungle Book. The Jungle Book movie was just Jungle Book, but Mowgli is a character that goes way longer than Disney, and the Mowgli movie told some of those other stories, and it was really cool because it was like this like really interesting way to look at this character you knew so well in a way that is actually closer to what he originally was. But overall the movie wasn't that good. It was just like, I mean, the animation was kind of freaky. There'd be times where you look at animals and you'd be like, oh, that's not an animal. Next is Prodigy. I'll keep that one short because no one knows that movie. But basically, it's like a girl is locked up in an insane asylum, and a child psychologist comes in to talk to her, and you quickly realize that shit's fucked up with her. And I use that because it's really fucked up. Turns out she killed her mom, and that's only the tip of the iceberg. And her and the psychologist conversation is probably the most interesting, considering it takes place almost entirely in that room. Their conversation takes place there. That part's amazing. You go to the observation room, and everyone in there is a cringy stereotype character that adds nothing to the movie. And if they just cut those people out or rewrote them, or just cut them out, the movie would be near perfect for me. But instead, it was like a 2.5 out of 5 instead of it literally split in half, where 2.5 of the stars came in one room and 0 came in the other. Ralph Breaks the Internet. It just really didn't have the soul of the first one. The entire thing was a commercial, and I think
that's because it was about the internet. And the internet.
But the thing is, yeah.
That's why I hate the first Jurassic World movie.
But then don't make the movie, because then I leave it and I go, I don't care about Facebook.
We can advertise because it's a park.
Yeah.
The Indominus Rex.
Brought to you by Starbucks.
The Indominus Rex.
I need to get in my Jeep Wrangler now.
Sponsored by
2017.
Which the first movie, the first Jurassic Park did as well. They had the Jeeps that they flashed.
Completely.
But that's a totally different thing.
Star Wars does it too. The blue milk and the T16s.
Yeah, you can buy those.
T16 is such a waste of money. You need so many extra power converters.
To kill the Wombrats?
Yeah.
Well, you're shooting from your T16. You can use
right.
any ship.
There's a lot of power converters.
I mentioned First Purge already. That one...
bad.
That one made me mad because that was definitely my favorite of the Purges since the first one.
It's still so bad.
Tyler hates it more than us.
I agree with you, though.
Tyler hates it more than us. It's definitely... I thought it was just short of what I wanted it to be. Tyler, definitely you disliked it more than us.
Well, I will say, the main guy from that, the main black guy, the gangster,
He's had
was
a good year.
He was awesome.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Awesome. Like there's a sequence in that where he's going through an apartment complex and destroying government officials, and I'm just like, why wasn't this the whole movie? Like, I will say that the last like 20 minutes, that was fantastic. The whole rest of the movie was so bad that it barely broke even to be in the negatives for me.
They haven't fully realized that it needs to be an action movie.
It needs to be action, or they need to lean completely into horror instead of doing the first one was the closest where they did like a.
It was horror.
It was horror, but with like things that weren't, and you just sort of like, and then my last one is off of Brian's favorites list, and it was 3 Identical Strangers, and I think a lot of that was because I saw American Animals before it, and American Animals to me was a much better documentary. And so 3 Identical Strangers, it was literally the last third. They sort of like dipped their hand heavy into like forming what the story would look like. And so like I loved everything up until when they started to push it. They started to push a narrative that they hadn't been doing this whole time, and you could feel it. And I just like I personally like resisted that, and so it sort of left me with a bad taste at the end. That if they had, I didn't mind what they were saying, but if they had let the people say it instead of like make that the only thing it was about, then I would have been much more. I would have loved the movie much more. Mm-hmm. That it was just the end left me with this taste, and that was it.
I hear you. Okay, two more questions, and then we're gonna get out of here. So one more about movies in 2018. What was the worst movie you saw this year? Don't hold back. I know mine.
You go first. I'm trying to think.
Slender. That was so offensive to every one of my senses. Like, it was just, God, so obviously people who don't get a thing trying to capitalize on the fact that it was a little bit in the news. But it came out like 3 years way too late, was very bad. The main actors and actresses in it, so bad. The only one that was anyway halfway decent is the first one to get killed and then out of the movie. So that was bad. Number 2 would probably be what's the online movie where it's all screen capture? Unfriended.
The horror one.
Unfriended Dark Web was almost as offensive to every sense as Slender.
The tech in that one hurts me, and I didn't even see it. Just from the trailers, everything they show, just like, that's not how the internet works. That's not...
Yeah, and then my number 3 would be Mile 22 with Mark Wahlberg and the chick Maggie from The Walking Dead. You know what's funny? I saw Slender and Mile 22 back to back. I saw them in the same weekend because we needed to review them for the podcast, and that was our saddest episode ever of this show. And yeah, that one is offensive to me because it had Mark Wahlberg, John Malkovich, Maggie from The Walking Dead, Ronda fucking Rousey, and then the dude from The Raid 2, I think. Mm-hmm. Oh man, but so yeah, enough talent to make a schlocky action film, fucking awesome, and it was just the most boring waste of time. Like, for God's sake. Oh, I forgot one for Letdown, but we'll get to that in a second. It's just like the action was like there was one scene, and it's in the trailer where the Asian guy from, I want to say it's The Raid 2, but I feel like that's not right.
I think it is actually.
But that guy has a scene where he's like people come to assassinate him, and he's fighting back. Best action scene in the entire movie. The rest of it's awful. You have Ronda Rousey in your movie. She doesn't punch a single person. That's her whole thing. Whole thing she punches people good. And you don't let her do that one time. She just has a scene where her car blows up, and then they leave her a grenade to kill herself and also some bad guys.
She also looked, I saw the opening of it on a plane. She looked just uncomfortable. She didn't look like she wanted to be there.
Yeah, like you get the idea that she read the script and was like, oh, you want me in your action movie with Mark Wahlberg? That's fucking awesome. And she probably thought she was going to be Maggie from The Walking Dead's character. She wasn't. She was throwaway eye candy / action fodder. It was just awful. But my biggest letdown was Sicario 2, Day of the Soldado. I love the first one so much. And this one was, look at awkward dad Benicio del Toro try to kill his way through a gang, maybe, and then get shot in the face, and he's still alive? And maybe it's a good thing you're in a gang? It's like the worst. So disappointing, because the first one's so good. It's like, ooh, what's right and wrong when you're battling crime, and these gangs are so awful, like, is it okay to treat them like a hostile military force, and using using an actual assassin against them? And then Benicio's scene at the end of that one, oh my god, so good. And then this one's just, it's like, okay, the best way I could describe it is you have a movie you don't know is about Batman. It's about Gotham City, and it's about Commissioner Gordon and then like taking down the mob bosses in Gotham City. And you don't realize that the one guy that's been informing Commissioner Gordon the whole time is Bruce Wayne. And then you realize that through the perspective of Batgirl. And then Batman goes and he breaks a bunch of people's legs in a warehouse. And then he comes back and he threatens Batgirl into not telling anybody that he's Batman. And then you're like, fuck, that's so cool. And then the next one, Batman put on 65 pounds. Everyone knows he's Batman and Bruce Wayne at the same time. And he gets beat up every single fight scene. That's exactly what it felt like that whole time. And now I know Aaron from the last, old Aaron from some of the older episodes who was on the Masterminds actually kind of liked this one and disagreed with me on that point. He can go fuck himself. I love you, Aaron.
You hear that?
But no, that one was so disappointing to me. Anyway, carry on. Worst movie.
Fallen Kingdom.
Fuck you too, Brian.
I have 3. And do you have more? You seemed resigned.
I was
Keep
sitting here thinking about it, and that's the only movie this year that I left that I was kind of just like, so yeah.
I have 3. The first one is objectively the worst, but it's fun, which is The Meg. It's just it's like.
See, I watched that one. I disagree that it's the worst.
That one was probably my biggest surprise as far as positivity.
All the characters are not 2D, they're 1D, but like it's just like I go with it because it's like Sharknado. It's not supposed to be good. Mm-hmm. It's like
you're supposed to
enjoy B- movie.
That's the route I would rather them take for a blockbuster movie than the Fallen Kingdoms.
No, and that's the thing is, I thought The Meg was incredibly fun, and I walked out with a very positive experience. But if we're gonna talk about worst movies, I can't pretend like it's good. I can say that it did what it was supposed to do incredibly well, but objectively, like, it just did from story writing to all of it was bad. But yeah.
Yeah, I feel that.
Next is a Netflix movie called The Beyond, which was a doc-style sci-fi movie. And I had a binge where I did about 4 or 5 sci-fi Netflix movies, and it was by far the worst because they just did awful. The effects were good at the beginning, then you realize they only paid for a certain amount of effects, so those are the ones you're going to get for the rest of the movie. So that shot you saw at the beginning that you're like, oh, that's kind of cool, you see it 7 more times. And the worst part, none of the characters are lovable except for one. You meet him, he goes into an operation, seems like it's going to work, then he dies. You get about 10 minutes of him. The movie's like an hour and a half long, and the one guy you like, they kill. And you leave it you're like, I wasted my time watching this, and that is the worst thing a movie can do is waste your time.
It was like that T.J. Miller death in one of the Transformers movies when he was pretty chill at the time.
Oh yeah, when people still liked him, and he was the best part of Transformers 4.
And they fucking vaporized him.
They just kill him in one of the most brutal ways. And he gets turned to metal napalm. And so he's lit on fire and turned into a metal husk of a human being.
And there's no benefit to that either.
No, it doesn't. Mark Wahlberg's character already decided to go on his journey, so you do not need to kill his best friend to make him. That you already know that guy's the bad guy. You already know stakes are high. There was no point.
And so in The Beyond, what happens is the guy goes in, and the idea is basically they're going to take out his brain and put it in an android. and it fails, and so it wastes like 5 days of their efforts, and then they just try again with someone else and it works, and that's it. Like they didn't learn it. They're like, oh, we think we overloaded his brain, we'll go easier next time. I'm like, what the fuck does that mean? That doesn't mean anything. Your words don't add up. Like, it's sci-fi, it's not supposed to exactly make sense, but God, if you're gonna kill him, at least be like, we've totally messed this thing up. It's like, no, they just kind of messed up, and so he died and he's gone. And my last one, which I'm pretty sure you enjoyed, was The House with the Clock in Its Walls.
Oh, I love that movie.
I thought it was so heavy-handed with it's okay to be different that it ended up skipping so many other things it could have focused on, and the ending for me was just so, like, it was lackluster, and it's like problem, and instead of giving a, like, suitable ending, they just go solution, and you walk out. And it's like, and
so I got a vibe in that part of why I like the ending, and maybe it was like something I sort of picked up halfway through that fell off for Freddie, was I got the idea that the like issue was a real issue, but they totally knew how to handle it, and they were just trying to help Lucas come into his own and grow, so they were kind of letting him go, but they had it under control. Kind of like, think about if Rick was a good grandpa. Like, he could solve all their problems, but sometimes he doesn't.
You led into that.
Rick from Rick and Morty.
Yes.
You know what's funny is I did not go to Rick and Morty. I went to Walking Dead.
Oh.
Yeah.
I was like,
I don't think
he could be a good grandpa.
It's like Rick from Rick and Morty. He's completely.
That's also where I went.
He's like a completely uncaring asshole, right?
But he knows how to solve all the problems.
But he knows how to solve all their problems. So, like, think about it, if he knew that and still let Morty figure something out to feel better about himself and learn his own way, instead of just torturing Morty all the time.
I would,
Junior.
if they changed the movie slightly so that was the story, I would have liked it immensely more, because that ending would be way better. I still wasn't crazy. They harped on the it's okay to be different the whole time, and I was like, yeah, we're in 2018. I know. We all know. Like,
also,
you're not going to stop bullying with this movie.
The bully in that movie played Atreus in God of War, so that's cool.
Oh, okay.
He had a great year. He was also in that movie about skateboarding.
He looked like Atreus, now that I think about it.
Oh, he was
the main character in that one.
Mid-90s?
Yeah. But no. I think the big thing is they showed both of the characters to be fallible, like, incredibly, that, like, they have these huge shortcomings in their magic, and if they had made that less of a thing, if they were like, yeah, she's regretting this thing and he's got this shortcoming, but, like, it's very clear that there was no chance that it could ever go bad, then in that case I would have left. It would not be on this list for me. I still would have been, like, ticked off by the message, but but they just needed to change it just to
I hear you.
You made a better movie out of it.
I really enjoyed that one because it was heartwarming. Sometimes you just need to feel good when you leave a movie. You need cheesy. You need just family stuff. That's why I fucking loved Coco so much last year. Because it just made me feel good. Yeah. And that's what the House with a Clock in Its Walls did for me. Plus, the world needs more Jack Black.
Oh yeah, he was amazing.
Being a lovable uncle or dad or grandpa, we need more of that.
He was incredibly impressive in that. I enjoyed that.
Okay, and then my other one. What's your most anticipated movie for 2019? Besides the obvious ones, so don't give me a Marvel movie. Don't give me Star Wars. Give me one that might surprise people that you're really looking forward to. So maybe not. Okay. That thing I just said, not most anticipated, because my most anticipated is obviously Endgame. But the one I'm Avengers Endgame. But the one I'm really looking forward to that might surprise people is the new Godzilla movie.
God of War.
The God of Zilla. Because I was saying to Freddie, we saw the trailer again, goosebumps the whole time. I could not give less of a fuck about the first one, and I didn't see Kong Skull Island. Why do I care so much about this movie?
Trailer's great.
Yeah, the first trailer is so good. It's like, honestly, when this movie is out, even if it's a bad movie, I'm going to watch that trailer every once in a while just to get hype. Like, I don't get it. Why I'm like, they sold me with the trailer, and I'm really excited for it.
So Was it most anticipated?
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah.
One you want to see the most, I guess.
That's disregarding like Star Wars and.
Us, 100%.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think trailer's incredible, and if Get Out had anything to say about it, it's probably going to be relatively solid. Who knows?
Yeah.
But
I can't imagine it's bad.
But I'm excited for it.
I saw like a year-end recap of him after he won for Get Out, and the interviewer was like, Oprah retweeted you, and he goes, wait, she did? And the interviewer goes, yeah, and he goes, hee. I'm like, all right, you deserve it every time. Yeah. So yeah, and then as far as the obvious ones, like I can't wait for Endgame. I'm really excited to see Captain Marvel.
Yeah, that one's gonna be at least slightly different than the other ones we've been seeing from Marvel.
Because I really think that it's cool that. So she's a huge character in the comics. One of the most powerful, like earthly. Well, all right, we're not gonna get nerdy about it, but one of the most powerful, like somewhat human superheroes in the Marvel universe, and a woman, and that's gonna be cool.
The fucking mohawk.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that shot
because
in the trailer is just.
She's a badass. She's an absolute fucking badass, and I can't wait to see her. I can't wait to meet Skrulls. I can't wait for her to be a Skrull. That's not a guaranteed thing. I just think that's what's going to happen. I'm looking forward to...
Which I don't think it is, because they already did the Loki giant
Yeah,
one.
but that's the difference.
But it's the same story. I know they haven't done it before. I said
the difference is that's a twist to people who don't know anything about Loki, period.
Yeah, well, Loki...
As a character in Norse mythology and Marvel mythology, that's the only people that's a twist for.
Yeah.
The Carol Danvers one would be a twist to everyone, because that's never happened. That has never been a thing. But it would be such a cool way to introduce Skrulls that I hope it happens. But it's like me wanting Rey to be a Kenobi. It's never going to happen. It should, but it never will, because people don't like taking risks.
Detective Pikachu.
Oh yeah, that was going to be good.
I'm excited for that, because I figure that just based on the animation alone, it'll be fun.
Yeah, terrifying, but
terrifying.
fun.
Hellboy.
Yep.
That one's going to be great.
That one looks cool.
Allegedly Zombieland 2.
Oh, really?
If that happens, the cast is getting better with each person. I'm sad it's not the same cast from the original, but they are putting together a good cast. It's coming out soon, but Alita...
Oh, yeah.
That'll be like Ex Machina, except like action-y, which I think
that
really
one's
cool.
gonna bomb.
I think it's gonna. I think it's probably gonna bomb. It's either gonna be bad, but look pretty, or even if it's good,
I just think people are gonna find it weird.
Yeah,
I actually do think the eye thing is off-putting.
I forgot
it's
another
off-putting,
thing,
but it's kind of cool.
Well, I forgot another one. Dragon Ball Z or Dragon Ball Super Broly is getting its American release in a couple days, and I am absolutely tittled. I cannot fucking wait.
I'm happy that you're tittled.
Like,
he's diddled? Wait,
he got diddled.
Tyler,
so that movie's only out in Japan right now, and it's already made like $26 million. Like, that's great for a fucking Dragon Ball movie. That's awesome. And it's coming out, and it's going to be in the Lemley, and I can't wait to have
Jumanji?
a Lemley. Oh, right, yeah.
You want to know why? Did you see the news from today?
Well, Aquafina got added.
No.
Someone else got added.
Danny DeVito.
Yeah.
That's the one that I'm like, well, I'm gonna see that now, because he's gonna be, think of him trudging through a forest, just troll walks through, like... That alone will make the movie, and that's the thing, is the characters from the first one they're what made the movie.
Yeah, Rocky's coming back, Kevin Hart's coming back.
Yeah, so add Danny DeVito to that.
Karen Gillan and Jack Black's coming back.
Perfect.
Danny DeVito, Aquafina, not Nick Jonas, hopefully.
I liked him.
That would be weird.
I liked him.
That'll be on the top list.
He was fine, but
movies next year.
Yeah.
This year.
Not anticipated is the Joker movie. We want to get into not anticipated.
Yeah, I am.
I'm
so
talk about tittling.
I'm so interested.
The shot they showed made me real happy. Have you seen that?
No, I haven't.
It looks
the
creepy.
one where he slowly turns into the Joker,
yeah.
like just his shot of his
pushing
face.
it on him, and he's just sitting there and he's
I
smiling.
am so fascinated by this. If they make a truly unsettling Joker movie, I think they picked the perfect guy to do it. Joaquin Phoenix.
That'd be interesting.
Todd Phillips is directing, which
is
that's
interesting. Interesting. But like, it's also completely unrelated to
Suicide Squad. And
Suicide Squad, fucking the atrocity that is Jared Leto Joker.
They're just letting them do a movie, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just like separate.
Mm-hmm.
See, my thing is I don't trust them. I don't trust DC
That
to
is
let it.
entirely valid.
And so that's why it is not.
I understand.
They'll have to prove it to me.
Sure.
And I'm.
Well, I will say I was always a little excited, but yeah, like it's still DC. But then Aquaman came out, and they let James Wan just make a movie that was good. So like, okay, Todd Phillips, not as legitimate director as James Wan, but still has a style that is his own, and I feel like they would let Joaquin Phoenix play, but they know what everyone hated about Jared Leto Joker, and that's that he wasn't the Joker, he was a pedophile who wore clown makeup and sexually harassed people and made out with Margot Robbie, who wouldn't? The Joker is never, like, I'm not gonna rant about it.
So then
he's never been a sexual deviant, so like that was so weird. And it looks like this Joker is just someone who wants to watch the world burn, like he should.
So to finish, I can fire off a list of the expected, just like Avengers, Captain Marvel, Star Wars, Toy Story 4, Spider-Man, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. You have Lion King. You have New Mutants. You have the
is New Mutants finally coming out?
Allegedly, I'm going
and
off
Dark Phoenix.
Oh, that one's.
That's a whole nother week.
Talk movies that are definitely going to be offensive to watch.
That's one. The It movie, John Wick Chapter 3, Shazam.
Oh yeah.
Dumbo will probably be interesting. Lego Movie 2. You have Aladdin. Frozen 2 will definitely sell. You have the Men in Black International.
That one's gonna be fun.
And then it looks like it for ones that actually matter. Looks like there's a Narnia movie.
All right.
I thought they stopped those.
All right, whatever.
But anyway,
it looks like it's gonna be another good year for movies.
There'll be movies.
This was one of the best years for the box office ever.
Went up. People purchased tickets 8% more than the year before. So more people are now going to the movie theaters.
And you have Movie Pass and A-List to thank
but
for
that is 100% because of those.
Oh yeah. Definitely.
Yeah.
So,
and I'm glad because it
brought
an industry that wasn't on the brink, but was
kind of getting the questionable.
Well, people were just wondering about it.
Well, it's like I knew it. Like Movie Pass was great. You want to talk about this year in movies? Movie Pass was great, but they were handling it wrong. Definitely in over their heads. And then AMC was like, okay, that's a cool idea. We'll do it right.
Yeah, AMC had the infrastructure that MoviePass tried to set up. And if MoviePass had like another year where they weren't losing money, they probably would have gotten to it.
It got too popular too fast.
Yeah, that's
I remember we went and saw The Foreigner, which was our first MoviePass movie, Brian and I. And then 2 weeks later, everybody had a fucking Movie Pass. There were signs about how to properly use your Movie Pass at theaters. Mm-hmm. Like, when we went there the first time, we felt like we cheated. Because the person behind we felt like we were stealing because the person behind the counter was like, okay. And swiped our Movie Pass card and we're just like, and it worked. And we went in, we watched the movie. We're like, I feel like we did something wrong. And then, like, 2 weeks later, we went to see something else. And everyone was there. There was a line out the door for Movie Pass. It's like, all right, yeah, this is cool, but oof.
Yeah.
But anyway, that was a 2-hour long podcast.
Yeah.
Thank you for being here for it. If you're still here, I don't know why, but good for you, I guess. My name's Tyler. That guy right there is Freddie. That one right there is Brian. Say bye, guys.
Have a lovely day. Have a good luck in your year in movies.
Yeah.
Happy 2019. Don't go see any more Jurassic Park movies.
I disagree. I disagree with Brian. I disagree. I think the next one might be fun.
Go see every movie.
But yeah,
go see every movie.
Go see movies more often.
In the theaters.
Yeah, in theaters.
And buy them.
Even if you're alone, it's not weird. I do it all the time. Hey, look, was that a cat?
Yeah,
is a cat still in there? Yeah. That's weird. All right.